officially been welcomed into NATO, becoming the second country to do so since Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine. After parliamentary elections this weekend, Portugal's far-right Chega party becomes the country's third main political force.
Europe nations almost doubled their imports of major arms in the past 8 years, according to a report from the Stockholm International Peace Research Institute. The Swedish flag flew in front of the NATO headquarters, making this military alliance official. Sweden's accelerated path to NATO began shortly after Russia's attack on Ukraine. Although military neutrality is part of the Swedish identity, 2/3 of citizens today support the decision of the government.
I think it's very good because then we have a protection if Russia is going to bomb us.
Me personally, I don't think that we should join the NATO. So yes, because I don't think war is good for anyone.
International relations professor Magnus Pettersson says that Sweden's accession to NATO began immediately after the end of the Cold War.
Participate in NATO's fully in NATO's operational planning. 2 is to sit at the table where the decisions are taken and actually take decisions together with the other allies. And the 3rd is, of course, most important. That is Article 5, security, the mutual security guarantees.
Šveđani dobro pamte i 81. godinu prošlog veka kada je 11 dana trajao diplomatski spor Stokholma i Moskve upravo zbog jedne sovjetske podmornice s nuklearnim oružjem.
Those who are against membership point out that such an important decision was made undemocratically without a referendum.
You know, we had referendums about EU, about Euro. You know, we had our say about NATO, which is a much bigger thing. But I think it took a kind of big crisis like this war to convince this population, because we love neutrality.
We had a general election in September. The decision to join NATO was made in May. And this means that the popular opinion obviously had not very much to say about the decision to switch completely our security policy.
For more than 2 centuries, Sweden has remained non-aligned and neutral. Whether the world today is a more dangerous place to live than during the 2 world wars and Cold War remains to be seen.
Moscow installed occupation authorities opened early voting in temporarily occupied territories of Ukraine for Russia's presidential elections on the 10th of March that will last until the 14th of March. Kremlin news via TASS reported on the 10th of March that early voting started in occupied Donetsk region, but noted that early voting in the areas close to the front line has been going on since the 25th of February. Ukrainian Luhansk region military administration head Artem Lysogor stated that 2,600 so-called Luhansk People's Republic Election Commission officials have been conducting door-to-door campaigning for the past 20 days. According to the Russian Interior Ministry, there are about 2.8 million residents in the temporarily occupied territories of Ukraine who are now Russian passport holders. Russia makes access to services in these regions, including social services and healthcare, conditional on the receipt of Russian passports. Those who refuse will become foreign citizens or stateless persons starting from the 1st of July 2024. There is a realistic possibility that individuals will be deported or face detention after this date if they don't have Russian passports in what the UK Defence Ministry calls, quote, a relentless Russification policy. The Institute for the Study of War continues to assess that the Kremlin and Russia-installed occupation officials intend to falsify votes in support of Russian President Vladimir Putin and fabricate a large voter turnout in an attempt to legitimize Russia's occupation of Ukraine to the international community.
In just 5 years, the far right in Portugal has gone from having a single MP to becoming the 3rd political force in parliament. The Chega party won 18% of the vote in Sunday's elections. Analysts say it's a sign of discontent with the traditional parties and part of an international populist wave.
creio que, de certa forma, Portugal, neste momento, já não foge àquilo que tem sido a tendência em alguns países europeus, onde há crescimento da direita populista, radical, extrema-direita, mas eu não sei se todos esses, como até reconheceu o líder do Partido Socialista ontem à noite, eu não sei se todos as pessoas que votaram no Chega, 1.100.000 que votou no Chega, se reconhecem algumas das coisas, ou nessa família política da extrema-direita. É seguramente, isso eu vejo como um voto de protesto. Há uma grande insatisfação no país.
If this trend continues, Portugal will also open up a new political chapter in the European elections in June, where 21 MPs will be elected. This could reinforce the expansion of the far right in the European Parliament.
A minha expectativa é que o Chega eleja deputados que neste momento não tem e, portanto, que passa a ser uma força representada também no Parlamento Europeu, mas aí, Isabel, também é um pouco a tendência que nós temos assistido aos últimos anos no Parlamento Europeu, que é um enfraquecimento, vamos lá ver, dos partidos de centro, centro-direita e centro-esquerda, e um crescimento gradual dos extremos.
The centre-right Democratic Alliance coalition defeated the current socialist government with a marginal victory. This will have an impact on the balance of power at the European Council, which brings together the leaders of 27 countries.
A confirmar-se que a AD forma governo, passa a haver só 4 primeiros-ministros ou chefes de governo do Partido Socialista e, portanto, obviamente que isto terá consequências naquilo que será a política também portuguesa sobre a União Europeia.
The final composition of the government in Lisbon is far from being clear, as the centre-right vowed not to let the extreme right enter its government, but it cannot form a majority with any other of the remaining parties.
European nations almost doubled their imports of major arms between 2019 and 2023 compared to the 2014 and 2018 period. This is according to the Stockholm International Peace Research Institute. For the first time, France became the second largest arms exporter. Its arms exports increased by 47%. The largest single recipient of French arms exports was India, which accounted for nearly 30%. Russian arms exports decreased by 53% and has moved down to third place. Ukraine became the fourth biggest global importer of arms after it received weaponry from over 30 countries in 2022 and 2023. Around 55% of arms imported by European states between 2019 and 2022 were supplied by the USA. In total, the global volume of international arms transfers fell slightly by 3.3%.
Tamás Szoljuk has been inaugurated as Hungary's new head of state after being nominated by the ruling party. His election follows the resignation of the previous president, who caused public outcry after pardoning a man involved in a child sexual abuse scandal. Hungary's president is largely ceremonial, but the opposition have still criticized Szoljuk for lacking political experience.
On the 11th of March 2004, a series of explosions shook commuter trains as they entered a station in Madrid, leaving 191 dead and 1,800 people injured, in what is still the largest jihadist attack perpetrated on European soil. 20 years later, the scars of that day are still alive among the population.
Es un día que jamás se borrará de mi memoria. Podría contar minuto a minuto qué es lo que pasó aquel día, y el resumen final es que mi hermano fue asesinado en el tren de Santa Eugenia.
Los ataques del 11M en Madrid en 2004 supusieron el primer gran golpe del terrorismo islámico en suelo europeo. Fue el despertar de Europa ante la amenaza yihadista, provocando un cambio significativo en la respuesta antiterrorista europea.
We spoke with Professor Luis de la Corte Ibáñez, an international expert in national and international security on the matter.
La Unión Europea no aprueba una estrategia antiterrorista común hasta el año 2005, como reacción a los atentados de Madrid de 2004 y a los atentados que tuvieron lugar un año después, en julio, en Londres.
According to Luis, the joint European response has been crucial in addressing jihadist threats in the last 2 decades.
El primer cambio evidente es que, aparte de tomar conciencia del problema y como consecuencia de esa toma de conciencia, se aportaron muchísimos más recursos para las fuerzas y cuerpos de seguridad y para los servicios de inteligencia que sirvieran para hacer frente a la amenaza, ¿no?
20 years later, the tribute to the victims serves as a reminder of the heartbreaking consequences of fanaticism and the need to remain alert in the fight against terrorism.
The first photo of Kate Middleton released by Kensington Palace for 2 months has been retracted by news agencies over concerns it looked manipulated. The picture shows Kate Middleton with her 3 children. Agencies such as Associated Press and Reuters have said that the photo shows an inconsistency in Princess Charlotte's left hand. Kate Middleton then took to X to say she apologized for the photograph and admitted that she had been experimenting with editing.